Hi and welcome to the latest video on the Football Manager Lab channel. In this video we're going to be looking at the potential for the Newcastle United takeover by the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. So there's still talk of whether or not that's actually going to take place, but it looks more and more likely that it may potentially be taking place within the next couple of weeks. So what I've done, I've gone ahead, I've simulated this change in in the game to see whether or not what impact this would have. Will it potentially push Newcastle on to the Champions League spots and even further then ahead into if they're capable of competing with the likes of Liverpool and Man City over a set period. So we have simulated the game now. It's up into 2024, so I've done the first 5 years in the game. So what we'll do is we'll jump in and have a look and see what effect, if any, it has had during that period. So let's see. So it was in the 1920 season. This is when we put it in play. So they did get relegated in the first season. They came straight back up, then went back down, straight back up. So they very much a case of during the first 4 years of it at least being quite turbulent and just being up and down, which is probably near enough where their natural position is right now. You would think that they would be around this, as it's been a significant drop in their performances, but it looks like first 4 years at least it's up and down between the Championship and the Premier League. And then this most recent season, they've finally managed to stay, finishing in 16th. So, not far away. Let me just have a look, see where they were in terms of the Premier League exactly. How far away from the relegation zone were they? Significantly. So, yeah, they were 13 points clear. That's a very significant gap there, so that's fine. What we'll do is just have a look, see what their transfer history is like. So they're spending big money. What's that, 124, 130 million? But not massively spending during the 2 seasons that they went down. So hopefully now that they've sort of stayed up now this season, that they can cement their position now in the Premier League and then start moving forward with the investment that this group potentially could make, as it seems like they're going to be potentially spending big money if they do end up taking over. So I think they would become the richest Premier League owner. So the potential there is massive for Newcastle, especially with the support that they have, the stadium that they've got. They're well placed to be able to push on, and very much push on to much better things than where they are currently sitting at right now. So what we'll do is we'll jump in now to a further 5 years in and see whether or not there's been any further progress on this. We're now at 2029, so that's 10 years into the game and into the simulation of the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund taking over Newcastle United. And what we'll do is we'll just jump straight into Newcastle and see where they've been progressing over recent seasons. So we left it here. That was the last season we saw. So they went from 16th up to 14th, then 10th. So definitely on an upward curve. Looks like the things have started to fall back down here. So 12th, 16th and 15th. So one major positive is that they've cemented themselves into the Premier League. However, they've not really pushed on where I would think that they would. So their reputation has increased. Let's have a look at their spending. They're spending huge money every season, pretty much. So who's that? Dembele. Okay. So they're spending big money. 44 million in the most recent season, 40 million. So it's consistently big money. 47 million. Previous season before that was 40 and wrong way. 30 million, 21 million, 42, 41. They're spending, they should be much better positioned than where they currently are. They've had the season where they actually sold more than they bought in, so maybe there's a few things happening there that aren't quite sitting right, but so they've not really pushed on so far. Let's have a look at competitions, whether or not there's been any. Let's do landmarks. Competitions, nothing. So what we'll do then, we'll jump a further 5 years ahead to see whether or not there's been, if they show any more progress, to see if they push on. Hopefully they will be, when we come back, they'll be close towards the top of the league, just to see, but I don't know what to expect from them. So far I would say I'm disappointed in the progress over 10 years, but we'll see what happens now in the next 5. So we'll jump and we'll be back in 2034. We are now in 2034, so it's 15 years into our experiment with the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund taking over ownership of Newcastle and basically becoming their sugar daddy, front of house sugar daddy. So we left them here over the last 5 seasons. So it was the 15th we left them. So after that, the following season they finished 6th, then 6th again, back down to 9th, then 6th, and then 5th. So definitely a big step forward, in a step in the right direction. Pep Guardiola is now their current manager, so that's a good thing. Their reputation's increased massively, so they're now worldwide 4.5 stars. Obviously they're rich. They've obviously got a sugar daddy who's extremely wealthy. Let's have a look at where am I going? Managers. Let's see. So Guardiola's been there for 2 years. Looks like they've had a couple of. What was that? Okay, I was thinking they've not won the league, but they did win the championship, so that's fine. So when we left them in 2029, looks like they have since had 2 Euro Cup wins. Well, a Euro Cup and a Euro Cup 2 win. So that's good at least. They've had a couple of cup wins with Danny Cowley. And then he resigned and Pep Guardiola's taken over and he's now won the European Super Cup. So they've had a little bit of European success, nothing in the league on that one. So what we'll do, let's have a quick look at their transfers. And they're spending huge. I was looking at this as, no, they're not spending much, but I didn't notice the figures here. So they've increased massively their spending. So let's jump back 5 years and see. This is when it just went into crazy money. So Chris Rice they bought from Everton for 111 million. Morgan Rogers from Bayern Munich at 72 million. Diarra from Benfica, if I remember correct, 54 million. Another Bayern Munich player for 48.5 million. Kendall Appleyard from Liverpool at 44 million. So there's massive money being spent. What's that? That's like a net spend of about 350 million in one season, considering they sold 160 million pounds worth of. Let's see what's there, 32. So it's significant. That's a huge jump in there. On paper, at least, a huge jump in their quality. We'd have to look into each one individually to see if that's actually a movement forward, but on paper, at least for price, then that's significant. Following season, they still spent 236 million. with their biggest purchase 69 million. They only sold 81, so what's that? That's a net spend of about 150 million. So again, significant. And again, on paper, most expensive outgoing is 35.5 million potential cost, whereas incoming is 69, and 4 of their players come to total more than that. So again, on paper, and this is purely in terms of transfer fee, it in theory should be again a big step forward for them in terms of quality. Season after that, again, £93 million player, £87 million they're buying from Man City. So shows where their wealth is that they're competing at the very top. Looking at this, and actually, 93, 90 million, 87, 79, 581 million, and that's a net spend of over £500 million. £500 million. That's incredible. In fact, Diarra, they bought him 2 seasons ago. 54, so they made a loss on him actually. Nearly £20 million loss. That's shocking. But yeah, £500 million, that's just ridiculous. That's just... That's almost like you're cheating in a game, in a video game. It's incredible. Following season, £113 million on Raul Braga from Inter. A bit closer. Well, actually, still £200 million net spend, so it's still vastly spending more than what they're actually selling for. But Chris Rice did go for 84, which again, I'm sure that's another loss. Yeah, they're not spending money wisely by the looks of things on this one, because they keep making big losses on their players. Following season, this is when they actually, £134 million. What? And 108 million. Jeez. And then they spent, so they made just short of £200 million there. Actually, them and Man City have just been, Man U have been just spotting players. 134, 150, so they've actually given Man U £20 million extra, and got 2 players out of them. Incredible. And then most recent season, they £300,000. Not a lot at all there, but still spent 158 million, so net spend massive. So yeah, with the money they've been spending, they should really, I would have thought, be Champions League, or within the Champions League spots by now, because they've been spending that now a lot, huge money over 5 seasons. I would have expected them to be better off, but we'll jump ahead then to a further 5 years into the future, see whether or not they've been able to make that jump. They're finishing 5th in the most recent season, so there's potential. And with Pep Guardiola, he's going to do well with them. So we'll jump into the year 2039 and see where Newcastle are, and whether or not they've been able to make that big step forward into more the Champions League spots, and more importantly, whether or not they've got to the position of winning the league. So let's jump ahead. We're now in 2039 of this experiment where we've given the Newcastle, the Saudi Arabian investment fund, public investment fund, have taken over. They've spent huge money, and we're just going to jump in and have a look, see how over 20 years, whether or not they've been able to translate that into any league wins, any European success, where they would end up potentially, and see if they've been able to make that jump that Man City did with their ownership. So we left them here in the 5th place for the 2034-35 season. Since then, unfortunately, took a bit of a drop, down to 7th, then 6th, back up to 5th, and then 6th again. So, yeah, even though they've spent all that money and they've had, some good managers in, so let's have a look at management. You're looking at Sean Dyche, Chris Hogg has been consistently the caretaker position. Patrick Kluivert has been there on 2 separate occasions. Danny Cowley had 3.5 years there. Where's Pep Guardiola? He had 2 years there. They've had, and now they've got Solskjaer, which he brought a few wins for them. Considering over the last 5 seasons they've had nothing, so he's brought them a Euro Cup winners, FA Cup, Community Shield, FA Cup, Euro Cup again. So they've done well on the European front, at least in the Europa League, but still nothing. Still quite disappointing in terms of the league positions, because they have spent huge money. Let's just check where they've spent the last 5 seasons. So that's the season we left them last. So let's just jump back. 34-35. So this season. So this is where they brought in more money than they actually spent. So what's that? That's a net gain of 130 million, near enough. Selling some big players out to Bayern Munich. But yeah, that was a disappointing one. So the following season, it was. We're going the wrong way. Let me go back to the season before that. Actually, this one we haven't looked at this. So they've gained 231 million, spent 644, which is just, like I said, it was a ridiculous amount when they hit 500 million here, but an extra 130 million on top is just, yeah, it's just playing video games with the cheats on, isn't it? 148 million is that has to be a new. I don't know if it's been broken since, but that is gonna have to be their record. It's not a world record because Neymar probably still has that, but it's got to be a Newcastle transfer fee record. 148 million is just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But then they've also followed that up with 86 million, 71, 65, 60, 60. Massive money. For what's that? That's about 7 players, and in terms of outgoings, only 1 player or 2 players, 3 players has actually gone for more than their top 7 players that they bought into. Huge, ridiculous sums of money that they've spent, and to think that they dropped down. Like, how could you drop down after spending that amount of money? You have to have just put it in stupid transfers to ruin it. Paid well over the odds for players who, quality-wise, just not there. Is that? No. Yeah, I didn't think it'd be 20 years into it. It'd be 50 or something. I thought it was Alisson, the Liverpool goalkeeper. Not really thinking about we're 20 years in. So this season they sold more than they bought. So making some profit. Then they did the same thing the following season. Then the following season after that, they massively invested. So 329 million spent, and only 82 million coming back into the business. In terms of their purchases, they're all pretty much all 40 million plus, bar 1 player. And outgoings, nothing too significant, I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, like 18 million. So at this point, with the money they've spent, 18 million is probably just like a squad player at best. So some big purchases. Again that season. Then season after that, again another huge spending one. So only 114 coming in, 357. 114 million coming in for players sold, and 357 million being spent. That's another 100 million plus player from PSG. 124 million pound, which one player alone is more than what they've actually gained from selling all of the players that they have now. Their biggest sale was only 36 million, so what's that? That's like 88 million more. Just incredible. The following player, or the next highest player they purchased, was 93 million still. So it's just huge money being thrown about by Newcastle. And then the season after, they followed up with another 120 plus million pound player from Man City. So yeah, even up till today, they're spending massive purchases, but nonetheless, still not good enough to get even into the Champions League spot. So I'm gonna finish the experiment here after 20 years. It's just Newcastle, just by now, with the money they've spent and everything else, they really should have broken into the Champions League spot at the very least. It's disappointing, and it's worrying if this ends up being how it goes. But anything's going to be better than Mike Ashley. He's been an absolute disaster for Newcastle, and to be honest, he's a disaster for the high street as well. So anything where he takes a hit, but unfortunately he's going to make. I think he might even end up making a profit of this sale if it does go through. That is. So yeah, it's disappointing in that aspect, but yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it may not be enough for Newcastle to get back into the Champions League through league position at least. But it might end up with a few Europa Leagues. So depending on where you are, I would imagine Newcastle fans probably will take that. But yeah, it didn't quite get into the pinnacle of the league and winning the league. So hope you enjoyed, and please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And if you've got any other experiments you want me to try, then let me know. I'll be happy to give them a go. Okay, we'll see you on the next video.